The drama begins with Lee Jae-in, the perfectionist CEO of SH Hotel. He wants every single thing around him to be flawless, and because of his short temper, all of his employees are scared of him. During an office meeting, one employee's phone suddenly rings. Jae-in loses his temper, grabs the phone, and throws it onto the ground, leaving everyone terrified. On the other hand, the female lead Kim Da-hyun has a completely different personality. She is kind, soft-hearted, and works as a school teacher. She genuinely loves teaching children and always treats people warmly. One day, while taking her students outside for activities, she suddenly hears something falling nearby. When she goes to check, she finds an elderly man lying unconscious in the forest after collapsing during a hike. Da-hyun immediately takes him to the hospital and stays there to help him. Later, she learns that the old man has no guardian or family members with him. Worried that the hospital might neglect him because he is alone, Da-hyun signs the papers herself and becomes his temporary guardian. Meanwhile, back at SH Hotel, Jae-in is once again angry because an important client canceled a VIP room reservation after already making a booking. He vents his frustration on the staff over the issue. Despite his cold personality, Jae-in is extremely talented. He speaks several foreign languages and personally handles international clients while carefully understanding their preferences. That is one of the reasons he became such a successful businessman. After finishing her day, Da-hyun returns home, and another side of her life is revealed. She runs a fan club for a rising K-pop idol named Jisoo. Even though the idol is not very famous yet, Da-hyun works hard every day to support him and help him gain popularity. Before leaving the hospital, the elderly man thanks Da-hyun for helping him. Since he does not have much money, he simply gives her an apple as a small gift because he was touched by her kindness. The next morning, Da-hyun heads to work, but she has a habit of forgetting things everywhere. This time, she forgets her phone and ends up missing her bus while trying to get it back. At the same time, Jae-in continues managing his hotel with strict discipline. He expects everything to remain organized and perfect. But outside of work, he surprisingly behaves quite humbly and does not openly show the attitude of a rich CEO. That day, Da-hyun visits SH Hotel for a blind date. As soon as she arrives, she accidentally bumps into Jae-in. He politely helps her and shows her the correct direction. Because of his simple behavior, Da-hyun mistakes him for an ordinary employee instead of the hotel's CEO. Soon after, attorney Park arrives to meet Jae-in. He is both the family lawyer and someone close to Jae-in's grandfather. He urgently informs Jae-in that his grandfather recently made changes to his will. The details completely shock him. His grandfather decided to transfer his shares of SH Group to a woman named Kim Da-hyun. On top of that, the will states that whoever becomes her husband will gain control over those shares. Hearing this, Jae-in becomes furious. Even though he personally built SH Hotel, SH Group itself is a massive business empire. He immediately starts worrying that his cousin Tae-ha might marry Da-hyun first and take control of a large part of the company. The story then reveals that the old man Da-hyun saved earlier was actually Jae-in's grandfather. Her kindness had deeply impressed him. Later, Jae-in and attorney Park visit Da-hyun's school to meet her. They ask whether she knows a man named Lee Gui-cheol. Da-hyun innocently replies that no student by that name ever studied in her class. She genuinely has no idea what they are talking about. Attorney Park then explains that SH Group shares have been transferred to her name, but instead of believing them, Da-hyun becomes suspicious. Since they had already been calling her before, she assumes these men are scammers trying to trap her and steal something from her. Attorney Park tries to explain calmly, but Jae-in loses patience. He believes Da-hyun intentionally got close to his grandfather and is now pretending to know nothing. He angrily accuses her of acting innocent after manipulating his grandfather. Da-hyun immediately gets upset and tells him to stay quiet, otherwise she will leave right away. For the first time in his life, someone openly talks back to Jae-in like this, and he has no choice but to tolerate it. The conversation quickly turns into an argument. Jae-in tries to pressure her the same way he controls his employees. But Da-hyun is not affected at all because she truly has no interest in the company or its shares. Attorney Park struggles to calm both of them down. Then Da-hyun learns another shocking truth. Jae-in's grandfather also wants her to marry his grandson. She cannot believe it. The man she cannot tolerate even for a few minutes is suddenly being pushed toward marriage with her. Jae-in sarcastically tells her that if she had no interest in him or the company, she should not have gotten close to his grandfather in the first place. Feeling insulted, Da-hyun throws both men out of the school. Already frustrated, Jae-in later runs into his cousin Tae-ha, who manages SH Group's shopping malls and also sees Jae-in as a rival. The atmosphere between them immediately becomes tense before they walk away separately. Jae-in feels trapped by his grandfather's decision, so he investigates Da-hyun's background. He discovers that she is just an ordinary and kind teacher who also manages Jisoo's fan club. Still angry, Jae-in tries calling his grandfather, but the old man ignores him, so he goes to meet him personally. At home, the grandfather places Da-hyun's profile in front of his late wife's photograph and says that Da-hyun reminds him of her. He believes she can positively change Jae-in's personality just like his wife once changed him. Soon Jae-in arrives, and as usual, the grandfather and grandson indirectly argue with each other while talking toward the grandmother's photo, instead of speaking directly. Jae-in questions how he can marry a girl he barely knows. But his grandfather replies that all the women Jae-in dated before were just as cold and unpleasant as him, which only made his personality worse. According to him, Jae-in needs someone genuinely kind in his life. Eventually, Jae-in agrees to date Da-hyun for 3 months, and if things work out, he will consider marriage. However, his grandfather extends the condition to 6 months, and the two finally reach an agreement. The next day, Jae-in visits Da-hyun's school again. This time, he genuinely wants to discuss things calmly and fulfill the promise he made to his grandfather. At first, he thinks Da-hyun is not there and decides to leave, but she suddenly returns because she forgot something at school. Jae-in asks her to sit down and talk respectfully, but Da-hyun says she still does not understand why his grandfather suddenly involved her in marriage matters. Then she insists that if they truly want to discuss this issue, they should do it in front of the grandfather himself. Jae-in immediately calls his grandfather and tells him that Da-hyun wants to meet him, but the grandfather refuses, saying that convincing her is Jae-in's problem, and that he should stop calling repeatedly. The moment Da-hyun hears this, she becomes even more suspicious and accuses Jae-in of lying because he cannot even bring his grandfather in front of her as proof. Meanwhile, Grandpa is secretly enjoying the entire situation. All his life, Jae-in had been troubling him, and now he finally feels like it is his turn to trouble his grandson back. Back at the school, Jae-in tries to calm Da-hyun down and asks her to sit for a moment. To prove he is not lying, he searches his own name online and shows her the results. The moment she sees CEO of SH Hotel, Lee Jae-in, along with his photo, she becomes confused. Even then, she hesitates to believe him and says maybe they simply look alike. Jae-in replies, "It's not that we look alike, it's actually me." After seeing his business card as well, Da-hyun finally starts believing he might not be a scammer after all. However, she agrees to continue talking only on one condition: he must speak to her respectfully. Because of that, Jae-in starts addressing her as teacher instead of casually calling her by name. Da-hyun then tells him that if the shares are truly in her name, she could still marry someone decent in the future if she wanted to. So she does not understand why she should tolerate someone with such a terrible temper like him. Then she bluntly asks, "Why are you coming attached like a free gift?" The moment Jae-in hears himself being called a free gift, his pride takes a direct hit. He later vents his frustration to Attorney Park, saying that nobody had ever talked to him like this before. Usually, everyone tolerated the behavior of such a powerful CEO, but now he was the one constantly chasing after a girl who clearly did not care about his status. On the other side, Jusoo comes to meet Da-hyun. She immediately tells him to cover his face before coming outside, but he casually replies that he is not famous enough yet for people to recognize him. Still, Da-hyun firmly believes he will become successful someday because she genuinely thinks he has talent. The next day, Jae-in calls Da-hyun to meet him again. While walking, she is about to bump into another man, but Jae-in quickly pulls her toward himself to stop her. For a brief moment, Da-hyun's heart unexpectedly flutters. After sitting down, Jae-in once again tries to explain the situation calmly. He reminds her that she herself claimed to have no interest in money or company shares. Then he says that legally those shares belong to his family, so if she refuses to cooperate, it only makes her appear greedy. But he quickly adds that his grandfather already agreed on a compromise. Instead of marriage, they only need to date for 6 months. If things go smoothly, the will can later be changed. He asks her to at least help him this much. But Da-hyun gets irritated once again and tells him to stay out of her life before walking away. Meanwhile, Grandpa keeps receiving updates about everything happening between them. The moment he hears that his grandson keeps approaching Da-hyun only to get rejected every single time, he enjoys it immensely. Soon the weekend arrives. Every weekend, Da-hyun's mother forces her to go on blind dates, and this time is no different. Coincidentally, Jae-in also visits the same hotel restaurant to meet his mother. There, he suddenly notices Da-hyun sitting with another man. Not only that, she is laughing comfortably while talking to him, and the man himself appears decent enough. Watching them together strangely bothers Jae-in. Without wasting time, he abruptly ends his own meeting and walks straight toward Da-hyun's table to interrupt the date. He sits beside her and starts talking about how much his grandfather likes her. He says that even if she does not want to agree to marriage immediately, she should at least take some time before rejecting him completely. The blind date misunderstands everything and assumes Jae-in is actually Da-hyun's boyfriend. Feeling awkward, the man apologizes and quickly leaves the restaurant. Right afterward, Da-hyun receives a scolding phone call from her mother, who angrily asks why she keeps going on blind dates if she already has a boyfriend. Meanwhile, Jae-in quietly enjoys the chaos he created. Then he seriously tells Da-hyun that both of them need something from each other. She needs someone for marriage because of her family pressure, while he needs her cooperation to deal with his grandfather's inheritance issue. So he proposes a deal. Da-hyun immediately rejects him and says she does not need someone like him. Once again, Jae-in's ego takes damage because he is fully aware of how attractive and successful he is. Still, he stops her and explains that even if she does not want marriage, she can at least pretend to date him for 6 months. In return, he is willing to give her whatever she wants. Da-hyun's first condition is simple. He must continue speaking respectfully to her. After that, she begins listing the problems at her school. The school lacks proper facilities, there is no school bus, the labs are outdated, and even the dance classroom needs better mirrors and equipment. For someone like Jae-in, all of this is incredibly easy to arrange. Then Da-hyun brings up another important request. She explains that her friend Ju-soo is trapped in a terrible entertainment contract. If he breaks the agreement, he will have to pay an enormous penalty fee. Since Ju-soo is still struggling financially, they cannot even afford a proper lawyer. So she asks if Attorney Park could help with the case. Although Da-hyun's conditions are quite large, none of them are difficult for Jae-in. Eventually, the two officially agree to sign a 6-month dating contract. Right after that, as Da-hyun is leaving, a car suddenly approaches nearby. Jae-in quickly pulls her toward himself to protect her. This time, Da-hyun sincerely thanks him. Later, Jae-in informs Attorney Park about the agreement. In reality, both he and the attorney are desperate to settle things quickly because they do not want Tae-ha discovering the details of Grandpa's will. If Tae-ha learns the truth, they fear he might interfere for the sake of gaining more power within SH Group. The next morning, Da-hyun arrives at school and is shocked. Everything she mentioned to Jae-in has already been arranged. The missing facilities, equipment, and improvements for the school have all been completed almost immediately. At the same time, Jae-in himself becomes impressed by Da-hyun. He realizes that despite being given the chance to ask for anything, she never requested a single favor for herself. Everything she asked for was either for her students or for Ju-soo's future. Soon after, their official fake dating begins. For their first outing, they meet at a restaurant. Later, Jae-in asks her to attend a concert with him. Da-hyun refuses at first, but Jae-in forcefully drags her along, reminding her that spending time together is part of their dating contract. While walking outside, Da-hyun notices matching keychains with the initials of their names and buys them impulsively. However, because Jae-in pays in a hurry, he unknowingly ends up buying them for her. The concert turns out to be a classical music performance, something Da-hyun has absolutely no interest in. Coincidentally, Tae-ha and his family are also attending the same event. The moment they notice Jae-in sitting beside an unfamiliar girl, they become suspicious because Da-hyun looks completely different from the stylish women Jae-in usually dates. As the concert continues, Da-hyun becomes extremely sleepy from boredom. Jae-in notices her struggling to stay awake and quietly warns her that if she closes her eyes again, he might kiss her. Hearing that, Da-hyun immediately forces her eyes wide open and spends the rest of the concert staring ahead without blinking. After the performance ends, Da-hyun suddenly says their contract is missing an important condition. When she starts mentioning physical contact, Jae-in completely misunderstands her intentions. He awkwardly replies that relationships naturally become closer over time and says they should first get to know each other better before taking things further. Da-hyun becomes completely shocked and immediately clarifies that she actually wants a condition stating that neither of them will ever make physical contact. Jae-in refuses and tells her that since they are pretending to date, he cannot promise something like that now. He also reminds her that changing the contract afterward would count as a breach of agreement. Then he coldly adds that if she breaks the contract, Ju-soo's legal situation might never get solved. At that exact moment, Da-hyun receives another call from her mother saying she already arranged yet another blind date for the upcoming weekend. At that moment, Jae-in suddenly snatches the phone from Da-hyun's hand and starts speaking to her mother himself. He introduces himself as Da-hyun's boyfriend and politely tells her not to keep sending her daughter on blind dates anymore. He even says that if her family wants, he is willing to meet them personally. During the conversation, he accidentally finds out that Da-hyun's nickname at home is Da-da. Surprisingly, Jae-in finds the nickname adorable, and from that moment onward, he also starts calling her Dada affectionately. But Da-hyun becomes extremely uncomfortable seeing him act so casually and freely around her. Later, while dropping her home, Jae-in suddenly remembers the matching keychains they bought earlier. After looking carefully, he realizes they are actually couple keychains. Then he says that if they are pretending to date, they should at least look believable as a couple. So he gives Da-hyun the keychain with his name on it while keeping the one with her name for himself. After saying goodbye, both of them leave. However, because of Da-hyun's forgetful nature, she accidentally leaves her house keys inside Jae-in's car. When Jae-in notices this, he turns back to return them. Da-hyun becomes slightly happy seeing him come back, but Jae-in immediately starts teasing her instead. He jokingly claims this is a very old trick girls use whenever they want to invite a guy over again. According to him, Girls intentionally leave things behind in a man's car so he has an excuse to come back and maybe even get invited upstairs for noodles. Then he smugly says she is trying to seduce him. While trying to snatch the keychain back from him, Da-hyun unintentionally moves very close to Jae-in. And in that moment, Jae-in suddenly kisses her. Da-hyun freezes in complete shock. Meanwhile, Jae-in casually acts as if it was no big deal, and jokingly says that after all the effort he put in, he only received this much in return. Then he adds that if she thinks he will immediately come upstairs to her apartment after just one date, she is mistaken because he was not raised like that. Hearing his nonsense, Da-hyun angrily stomps on his foot, snatches her keys, and storms away. But even after they separate, both of them keep remembering that unexpected kiss over and over again. Da-hyun becomes nervous because she realizes her heart is already starting to react to him. She starts thinking that Jae-in is clearly a dangerous playboy, yet she still finds herself getting affected by him. She wonders how she is supposed to survive 6 entire months with someone like him. The next morning, Grandpa is overjoyed after reading the newspaper. Reporters had spotted Jae-in and Da-hyun together at the concert, and now the news had spread everywhere that the famous CEO Lee Jae-in had a new girlfriend. People were especially shocked because unlike his previous girlfriends, who were usually celebrities or models, this time he was dating an ordinary woman. For Jae-in, however, none of this really matters. As far as he is concerned, he is simply fulfilling the promise he made to his grandfather and sincerely continuing the fake relationship. But Da-hyun feels extremely uncomfortable after seeing herself involved in public gossip so early. She becomes worried, thinking that if reporters eventually publish her photos too, her normal life could become chaotic. Curious, Da-hyun searches online about Jae-in's past relationships and discovers all of his ex-girlfriends were glamorous and famous women. Looking at all of them, she becomes even more convinced that Jae-in is a complete player. Meanwhile, Jusoo arrives to thank her while carrying a bouquet of flowers. He happily tells her that his agency finally agreed to terminate his unfair contract peacefully, and the lawyer she sent was extremely capable. Hearing this makes Da-hyun genuinely happy, because regardless of Jae-in's personality, he is honestly fulfilling every promise he made to her. Soon afterward, Jae-in comes to meet Da-hyun again, but instead of greeting him warmly, Da-hyun immediately scolds him for kissing her without permission, and not even apologizing afterward. Jae-in shamelessly replies that she should actually apologize to him for stomping on his foot so hard. Then he casually says that since they are dating, kissing, holding hands, and going out together are all normal parts of a relationship anyway. At the same time, he notices the bouquet in her hands and asks who gave it to her. After hearing it was from another man, Jae-in immediately becomes possessive. He says he wants to add another condition to their contract. She should not meet any other men besides him. The real reason behind this is that he fears reporters might see her with someone else and create unnecessary rumors again. Da-hyun quickly points out that he himself had many women in his life before, yet she never tried controlling him, so she refuses to accept such a condition. Before leaving, Jae-in even throws Jusoo's bouquet into the trash and coldly says that no other man besides him should be giving her flowers. Later, the two go out together again. This time, Da-hyun decides she will choose the date location instead of letting Jae-in drag her somewhere fancy. She takes him to a toy store to buy educational puzzles for her students. While Da-hyun happily shops around, poor Jae-in becomes completely bored sitting there. Then he notices a small child crying because he wants a toy, but his mother refuses to buy it. Seeing the child suddenly brings back painful memories from Jae-in's own childhood. He once had a younger brother around the same age, but the child passed away long ago. After that tragedy, Jae-in's mother remained emotionally distant and heartbroken for years. Feeling emotional, Jae-in quietly buys the exact toy that child wanted and gives it to him. Meanwhile, the drama reveals more details about Jae-in's complicated family. The woman who previously met him was actually his stepmother, not his biological mother. At the same time, Tae-ha's mother, who is Jae-in's aunt, is also present with Grandpa. A heated argument soon breaks out between the two women. The aunt bitterly points out that Jae-in is her own brother's son and says the stepmother does not even share blood with him, so she should stop acting protective toward him. Grandpa becomes irritated by their fighting and sends both of them away. Back at the toy store, Jae-in helps Da-hyun solve one of the puzzles she bought for her students. Within just a few minutes, he quickly assembles it perfectly, once again proving how intelligent he is. Later, while returning home, another painful memory comes back to him. When he sees the rain, he remembers visiting his biological mother years ago. By then, she had already remarried and started a completely new family, almost as if she had forgotten about him. Trying to distract himself, Jae-in walks beside Da-hyun under a single umbrella and romantically insists that couples only need one umbrella while dating. The next day, Jae-in arrives at his office, where an emergency red phone line suddenly rings. Only urgent calls are supposed to come through that line. but this time it is Grandpa calling simply to complain that Jae-in has not visited him or even shared lunch with him recently. Jae-in awkwardly tells him that the red line is not meant for personal conversations like this. After the call ends, Grandpa vents his frustration to Attorney Park, wondering whether Jae-in is genuinely dating Da-hyun or simply fooling him. He sarcastically says that since Da-hyun is a teacher, she should at least teach his grandson basic manners about how to speak properly to his grandfather. Around the same time, Da-hyun's friend Hye-jin learns that Da-hyun is dating a rich man and becomes extremely excited for her. Later that day, Da-hyun goes on another date with Jae-in, this time at an art gallery. However, she quickly realizes that Jae-in actually has business matters there too, because he was one of the sponsors connected to the gallery event. Da-hyun complains that even during dates, he still mixes work into everything. Soon, they meet the foreign husband of Jae-in's biological mother, who owns the gallery. The man warmly tells Jae-in that his mother misses him a lot and wishes to see him again someday. Da-hyun becomes surprised because the man appears close to Jae-in like family, but Jae-in coldly replies that he does not consider them family at all. During the event, another man approaches Da-hyun warmly, but Jae-in instantly pulls her closer and says they are spending private time together, so nobody should interrupt them. His possessiveness keeps increasing whenever any man comes near her. Later in the parking lot, Jae-in questions Da-hyun about the man who called her Dada. He tells her that while she is under contract with him, no other man should be close to her. Then he firmly says that after her family, only he is allowed to call her by that nickname. Hearing all this, Da-hyun internally thinks that Jae-in is not just a devil, he is the king of devils. When Da-hyun finally reaches her apartment building, she notices increased security and police searches happening nearby because several theft cases recently occurred in the area. The moment Jae-in hears this, he becomes unexpectedly worried. Without hesitation, he accompanies her upstairs and carefully checks her apartment himself. He inspects the windows, doors, locks, and even the safety grills to make sure everything is secure. Watching him worry about her safety like this makes Da-hyun's heart feel strange. For the first time, she no longer feels like she is trapped inside a fake relationship contract. Instead, it starts feeling like she actually has a possessive boyfriend who genuinely cares about her. After finishing his work, Jae-in suddenly remembers the promise he made to meet Da-hyun, but when he reaches the spot, she is already gone, so he quickly rushes to her house. This time, Da-hyun is very angry and refuses to listen to any explanation. Jae-in tries to explain that his phone had died, and as soon as he turned it on, he immediately rushed to check the time and come to her. But even while talking, his work keeps calling him again and again. Da-hyun gets even more frustrated and tells him that work is clearly more important to him, so he should just leave. Because of urgent issues at SH Hotel, Jae-in is forced to stay in the office day and night. For the next 2-3 days, he is unable to contact Da-hyun at all. The situation is so serious that the reputation of his hotel could be affected, so he has no choice but to focus completely on work. During this time, he also starts suspecting that someone is deliberately creating problems. One of the names that comes to his mind is Tae-ha. Meanwhile, Tae-ha happens to see Da-hyun and Ju-soo together at a mall, and they look quite close. This makes him even more suspicious that something is going on between them. As soon as Jae-in gets a little free, he immediately goes to Da-hyun's house to apologize and explain everything. He waits outside her house for hours because she is not answering his calls. The same Jae-in who once made everyone wait for him is now desperately waiting for her. When Da-hyun finally arrives, she scolds him for disappearing. After hearing about the real emergency at his company, she slowly calms down. To make things better, Jae-in takes her out to eat at a restaurant. There, after dinner, he holds her hand tightly and says that couples should act like couples, and they should also behave the same way. Soon after, Jae-in becomes exhausted from sleepless nights and rests his head on Da-hyun's shoulder and falls asleep. Da-hyun, seeing him like this, quietly looks at him and becomes concerned about how tired he really is. Later, while dropping her home, Da-hyun takes his phone, puts it on silent, and tells him to promise her that he will sleep properly tonight. She says she will forgive him only if he rests completely. Then, for the first time, Da-hyun softly apologizes for making him wait that day. Jae-in quietly hears this and realizes this is the first time he has ever heard her say sorry. The next day, at the office, an unexpected situation occurs. Ju-hye, Ju-hoi, suddenly appears and creates a scene, insisting that Jae-in come outside to meet her. She is revealed to be someone from a powerful background, and her presence draws attention from everyone in the company. She keeps insisting on getting back together with him, but Jae-in clearly rejects her and says he is not interested. After dealing with her, Jae-in immediately goes to meet Da-hyun. Da-hyun asks him what is most important in his life. Jae-in replies that money and success are important to him, but he also explains that although he is a third-generation heir, He wants to build something of his own rather than relying on inherited wealth. At that moment, a child suddenly runs into danger on a bicycle in the park. Jae-in immediately rushes forward and saves the child, getting injured in the process. Seeing this, Da-hyun quietly places a good job stamp from her teaching bag onto his hand as a small gesture of appreciation. After that, they spend time together skating. Neither of them knows how to skate properly, so they keep helping and supporting each other while laughing and enjoying the moment. For once, they both feel completely free and happy. Later, Da-hyun receives a call from her mother, who once again insists on meeting Jae-in. Da-hyun refuses and says they have only just started dating and she wants more time. Jae-in then says he is ready to meet her mother, but Da-hyun suddenly reminds him that their relationship is only a contract and will end after 6 months. She clearly says that after that, they will go their separate ways. Hearing this makes Jae-in quietly upset, but he does not respond. Some days later, Da-hyun surprises Jae-in with a small birthday celebration. They are the only two people there, but she prepares a cake and spends time with him. Jae-in tells her that he never celebrates his birthday because it is also the death anniversary of his brother. Because of that painful memory, his family never celebrates it either. For the first time, however, he feels happy because someone is celebrating it with him sincerely. Da-hyun then gives him a gift. She originally planned to buy a tie, but instead chose something different after thinking it might send the wrong meaning. Curious, Jae-in keeps asking what it means. Da-hyun pulls him closer by his tie and tells him that in relationships, gifting a tie means, "You belong to me." Hearing this makes Jae-in smile, and he jokingly says he wishes she had really given him a tie. Then he says he has another wish. He wants a kiss from his girlfriend. Later, he drops her home, and at the door, Da-hyun gives him a small kiss, fulfilling his wish. A few days later, Da-hyun's mother comes and refuses to leave until she meets Jae-in. Da-hyun is forced to explain everything, saying they are only dating under a 6-month contract and will separate afterward. Her mother gets angry, but Da-hyun assures her that nothing inappropriate is happening, and she is handling everything responsibly. Meanwhile, school exams and competitions keep Da-hyun extremely busy, and she barely has time for Jae-in. He becomes restless without her. He even asks the principal if he can sit in her classroom just to see her, which makes the situation feel playful and romantic. The children also notice their bond and start teasing them. Later, they spend time together at the school play area, and Jae-in kisses her again. That night, while returning home, Da-hyun's house is found broken into. Everything inside is scattered, and she becomes terrified. Jae-in immediately takes her to his home after calling the police, refusing to let her stay there alone. At his house, Da-hyun feels shy and nervous. Jae-in notices her reaction and enjoys teasing her. He gives her clothes to change into and tells her he will work in the study so she can rest comfortably. However, Da-hyun accidentally drinks alcohol from the fridge, thinking it is juice, and becomes drunk. In her drunken state, she confesses that she is starting to like him and even kisses him again, saying she likes kissing him. Jae-in quietly puts her to bed and sleeps on the floor himself. The next morning, Da-hyun wakes up extremely embarrassed after remembering everything she said and did. Later, another small accident happens, and Jae-in gets injured while saving her again. While treating his injury, Da-hyun carefully helps him and even fixes his tie since he cannot do it properly due to his shoulder injury. Their closeness increases naturally, and Jae-in invites her for breakfast since his fridge is empty anyway. Da-hyun feels shy about going out together, worried that people might misunderstand their relationship, but Jae-in calmly says he does not care about rumors anymore. At that moment, Da-hyun thinks he is not afraid of rumors only because he has dated so many celebrities before. Later, when Jae-in is at the office near the elevator, Joo-hye suddenly hugs him from behind again. He immediately pushes her away and warns her to keep distance. But just then, Da-hyun sees them together, and the situation becomes tense once again. Da-hyun notices something strange on Jae-in's coat, makeup marks and the faint scent of a woman's perfume. This immediately makes her suspicious, and she looks at him with doubt in her eyes. Soon after, Jae-in and Da-hyun go to her house. But this time, Da-hyun herself ends up feeling embarrassed because some of her undergarments are scattered on the floor. She quickly gathers them in front of Jae-in, feeling extremely awkward. While cleaning up, Jae-in suddenly realizes that nothing valuable seems to be missing. That makes him suspicious. He immediately asks about their contract papers. Da-hyun explains that the contract was there, but she had placed it somewhere else. At that moment, Jae-in starts to suspect something serious, that someone from his own circle might have already found out about his grandfather's will and deliberately came to Da-hyun's house to search for the contract as evidence. Meanwhile, Taeha's father meets Jae-in and shows him certain documents. It becomes clear that he may have been involved in the break-in at Da-hyun's house in order to verify the contract and gather information. He then tells his son that Da-hyun is extremely important because she is directly connected to the SH Group inheritance. He suggests that Jae-in is only dating her because of the shares linked to her name. He also implies that if she ever leaves Jae-in, she could become a target for Taeha as well, encouraging him to pursue her for his own benefit. Later that night, Jae-in takes Da-hyun to a bar, but Joo-hye also appears there. Seeing Da-hyun with Jae-in makes Joo-hye extremely jealous. In private, Joo-hye tries to insult Da-hyun, reminding her that she is just an ordinary teacher, while Joo-hye comes from a powerful family background. She also confidently tells her that Jae-in never dates anyone for more than 6 months and that Da-hyun will be discarded once the contract ends. These words deeply affect Da-hyun, and she confronts Jae-in directly, repeating what Joo-hye said. At the same time, she also points out the makeup stains and perfume on his coat, clearly questioning him. Jae-in, however, is enjoying her jealousy and reaction. In response, Jae-in starts keeping Da-hyun from going home for a few days, insisting that her apartment needs better security and renovations. He tells her that until everything is properly fixed, she should stay with him. In reality, he is just worried about her safety. But Da-hyun becomes furious, especially after seeing Joo-hye so close to him earlier. She argues with him, accusing him of being controlling while allowing other women to hug him. In the middle of her anger, Jae-in suddenly pulls her closer and kisses her, telling her that when she gets jealous like this, she looks very cute. Then he casually leaves. A few days later, Jae-in upgrades Da-hyun's apartment completely, making it modern and secure. Da-hyun realizes he secretly bought the place because the landlord refused to make improvements. Jae-in pretends it was just an investment, but in reality, he wanted to give her a safe home. Because of this, both of them start missing each other when they are apart. Meanwhile, Taeha's mother meets Da-hyun and initially behaves politely, but soon starts insulting her, telling her she is not worthy of becoming part of their family. She also warns her that Jae-in will eventually leave her once he gets bored. Da-hyun remains hurt but does not tell Jae-in about it. At the same time, Joo-hye continues to provoke Da-hyun in different situations. Once, while Da-hyun is shopping, Joo-hye insults her for not even being able to afford proper shoes and says she does not suit Jae-in at all. Jae-in, meanwhile, warns Da-hyun to stay away from Taeha, suspecting that he might manipulate situations because of family rivalry. Taeha, however, tries to get close to Da-hyun indirectly through Joo-soo, knowing she is the president of his fan club. Later, shocking news spreads everywhere. Jae-in and Joo-hye are officially engaged. The news appears in newspapers and online platforms, leaving Da-hyun completely devastated. She starts believing it might be a business engagement arranged by their families and that Jae-in could abandon her anytime because of pressure from the SH group. Jae-in is shocked when he sees the news and immediately realizes it is fake. He tries calling Da-hyun repeatedly, but she refuses to believe him. Feeling angry, Jae-in warns Joo-hye to stop spreading rumors and stay away from him. He then rushes to Da-hyun and tells her the truth, that the engagement news is completely false. He explains that he has no feelings for Joo-hye and that their past engagement talks were long over. He hugs Da-hyun and reassures her that during their 6-month contract, she is the only person for him and he will not look at anyone else. Later, Taeha once again crosses paths with Da-hyun while Joo-soo is performing nearby. He even gives her a ride home, which leads to a direct confrontation between him and Jae-in. Da-hyun is shocked to learn that Taeha is actually Jae-in's cousin and that she was told to stay away from him. This causes a misunderstanding between Da-hyun and Jae-in, leading to a small argument. However, Jae-in soon realizes his mistake and comes back to apologize. He arrives holding balloons and sincerely says sorry. Da-hyun eventually forgives him, and the two reconcile. They spend quality time together afterward, even going out for ice cream. Meanwhile, Joo-hye does not stop interfering. She meets Da-hyun and offers her money, asking her to leave Jae-in and end the contract. She believes Da-hyun is only with him because of the agreement. Da-hyun feels deeply insulted but firmly refuses, saying she will not leave Jae-in until the contract ends. Soon, a grand family event is organized by Jae-in's grandfather. However, Da-hyun feels completely out of place among wealthy and powerful guests. Joo-hye again insults her, and Taeha's stepmother also tells her she does not belong in their world. Feeling humiliated, Da-hyun becomes emotional. Since Grandpa is unable to attend due to health issues, Jae-in also leaves the event to be with him. Da-hyun, feeling even more isolated, leaves the party and drinks alone to drown her sadness. She starts believing she is not good enough for Jae-in. Later, Jae-in finds her and takes her home. Seeing her drunk and vulnerable, he finally admits his feelings, saying that even though everyone calls her a misfit in his world, he loves her and wants to stay by her side no matter what. The next day, Da-hyun gets delayed at school due to work. Jae-in tries calling her, but she doesn't answer. Unknown to them, Joo-hye has kidnapped her. She contacts Taeha and offers him SH Group in exchange for Jae-in, claiming she only wants him and is ready to hand over everything else. Taeha goes to the location and finds Da-hyun unconscious in a hotel room. Realizing something is wrong, he immediately calls Jae-in and sends him the address. Jae-in arrives in anger and punches Taeha, accusing him of being involved in the kidnapping. But Taeha quickly clarifies that he actually rescued her and that Joo-hye is the one behind everything. Taeha then calmly explains the whole truth to Jae-in. He tells him that he has no bad intentions toward him at all. In fact, he considers Jae-in like an elder brother. He also admits that if anything wrong has happened with Jae-in, his family, or the SH group, it is his father's doing, not his. Tae-ha clearly says he does not support any of it. He further reveals that the property dispute is actually related to his maternal grandfather, and the rightful inheritance should go only to the true heir. That is why he is also against his father's actions. After hearing all this, the misunderstanding Jae-in had about Tae-ha completely disappears. The tension between them settles, and both of them decide to stand on the same side instead of being enemies. From that moment, Tae-ha and Jae-in begin to cooperate. After this incident, Jae-in becomes extremely protective of Da-hyun. She is still shaken from everything that happened, so he starts taking extra care of her. The next morning, Da-hyun insists on going to school despite everything. Jae-in initially objects, but eventually agrees. However, he tells her firmly that he will personally come to pick her up and will arrive early. Later, Jae-in brings her to his house and reveals that Joo-hye was the one behind the kidnapping incident. He says he will not let Joo-hye get away with what she did, but Da-hyun, worried about him, tells him she does not want him to get into trouble because of her. After this, Da-hyun temporarily stays at Jae-in's house. During this time, both of them spend more relaxed and intimate moments together. Slowly, their bond deepens even more. One day, Da-hyun comes out after taking a bath, her hair still wet. Jae-in comes downstairs and sees her like that. For a moment, he is completely stunned by how naturally beautiful she looks. Da-hyun becomes shy and tries to avoid him, but Jae-in quietly steps closer and kisses her, telling her she looks beautiful. Meanwhile, Joo-hye meets Jae-in again and sincerely apologizes, asking for forgiveness. She admits she acted out of obsession and made a serious mistake, but Jae-in refuses to forgive her this time. Joo-hye later goes to Da-hyun as well and begs for forgiveness repeatedly. Although Da-hyun does not forgive her immediately, she decides not to pursue any legal action and asks her to leave, saying she just wants to end the matter peacefully since everyone is safe now. A few days later, Jae-in's stepmother visits Da-hyun at her school and once again tells her she does not belong in their family. She says that all daughters-in-law in their family come from powerful backgrounds and that Da-hyun's relationship with Jae-in will not last. Da-hyun listens silently but does not tell Jae-in anything about this. She simply decides to cherish whatever little time is left, since their 6-month contract is about to end. On the final day of the contract, both Jae-in and Da-hyun dress up and spend the entire day together at the beach. They talk, walk, and enjoy their last moments together. Jae-in asks her what kind of man she would want to marry after this. Da-hyun replies that she wants someone good and kind. At that moment, Jae-in gently presents a necklace to her and places it around her neck. He tells her he originally wanted to give her a ring, but just like everything between them, things turned into something different. As the evening arrives, the contract officially ends. Jae-in drops Da-hyun at her home. Before leaving, Da-hyun asks him directly if he ever fell for her. Holding back his emotions, Jae-in admits that he tried not to, but he couldn't help it. He hugs her tightly, and they say goodbye. Shortly after, Jae-in learns that his grandfather's health has worsened and he has fallen into a coma. At the same time, major chaos starts building inside the SH group. Jae-in is forced to step into the company officially as a director. With support from Tae-ha, he begins taking control, and Tae-ha's father is removed from power. As Jae-in becomes fully involved in business responsibilities, his life turns heavy and stressful, but he constantly misses Da-hyun. Even while separated, both continue to think about each other. Eventually, misunderstandings are fully resolved, families gradually accept their relationship, and Jae-in proposes to Da-hyun. Da-hyun says yes. They get married and Da-hyun continues her teaching career while Jae-in manages the SH group. Over time, the media also begins to respect Da-hyun for her social work and kindness. In the final stage of the story, when Grandpa arrives to officially announce his retirement and speak in front of everyone, Da-hyun sees him for the first time in person. At that moment, she is completely stunned. She realizes that this was the same old man she had once helped in the forest when he was unconscious. The same man she had taken to the hospital and cared for without expecting anything in return. Back then, she had no idea who he truly was, and now, standing in front of her, he turns out to be the powerful grandfather of Jae-in and the true head behind the SH group legacy. Grandpa also recognizes her immediately. He looks at her with a calm smile, remembering how she treated him with kindness when no one else knew who he was. He then tells everyone that this girl is not just someone Jae-in met by chance, she is the reason his life changed. He says that even a small act of kindness can completely change a person's destiny. He adds that for Jae-in, that turning point was Da-hyun. And that's how their journey finally comes to an end, where misunderstandings, family conflicts, and emotional struggles all lead to a beautiful love story. From a contract relationship to true love, Jae-in and Da-hyun prove that real feelings can grow even in the most unexpected situations. If you enjoyed this drama recap, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more such amazing story recaps. Also press the bell icon so you never miss any new uploads. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.